Let us look at the geometric series GP. In the previous video, we looked at what a series is and we talked about the arithmetic series. A reminder, under arithmetic series, we said arithmetic series is obtained by adding the terms of a sequence. And also a feature of the arithmetic series is that the terms have a common difference. Now, under geometric series, let us see a distinguishing feature that we can take away. By definition, the sum of the terms of a geometric progression GP, where each term is obtained by multiplying the previous term by a constant ratio R. Remember, in AP, we were adding terms, okay, and the next term was obtained by adding a common difference to the previous term. But in this case, we are multiplying a previous term by a common ratio R. So the distinguishing feature of a GP is that there is a constant ratio called a common ratio R. And for us to get subsequent terms, we multiply previous terms by the common ratio R. Example of a series under GP is A plus AR. How did we obtain AR? We obtained it by multiplying A by a common ratio R. So A times R gives us AR. Now for us to get the third term, it is again AR times R again, we get AR squared. And the series continues. How do we get the sum of terms of the GP? The sum of n terms of a GP where R is not 1 is given by this formula that you must keep in your mind. This is the formula. But R shouldn't be 1, because if R is 1, it means all the terms are the same, because we are multiplying every number by 1. So R should not be 1. Can be less than 1 or more than 1. And this formula can be written as the sum of n terms is also in this manner. You must also keep in mind. Now, for the first formula, R is more than 1. For this formula, R is more than 1. And for the second formula, it is only used when R is less than 1. For this second formula, R must be less than 1. So you must be in position to recognize, is R less than 1? If yes, you use this formula. If it is more than 1, you use this first formula. We shall reach there and I will do a lot of numbers, so stay here. How do we get the sum to infinity of a GP? The sum to infinity is given by sum to infinity is A out of 1 minus R. Also, take note of this formula, we shall use it, where A is the first term, R is the common ratio or the constant ratio, and N is the number of terms. Therefore, when we come to example here, we are given a sequence. A sequence is 3, 6, and the rest continue. What series can we obtain from here? The series that we can obtain is by adding terms. That is just a series. But what type of series is formed? The type of series formed depends on whether the terms have a common difference or a common ratio. Let us test for a common difference. If we say the first common difference, D1 becomes 6 minus 3, and that gives us 3, right? What about the second common difference? It is supposed to be 12 minus 6, and that gives us 6, right? Is this difference common? No, this is not a common difference, because the first two terms differ by 3, but the second two terms differ by 6. So that is not this is not an AP because there is no common difference. It's not AP. So let us check if it is a GP. Remember GP, we say there is a common ratio. So the first ratio R1 becomes the ratio of 6 to 3. Divide 6 by the previous number in this case, and that gives us 2. What about the next common ratio R2? It becomes 12 divided by 6, and that gives us 2. What about the next ratio R3? Becomes 24 divided by 12, and what do we get here? We also get 2. So you have seen clearly that if we divide the terms and getting the common ratio, we find that the ratio is actually common. Once we get the ratio, it is a common ratio. So every term differs from the next by a common constant R. Therefore, we say 3 times 2, 6. 6 times 2, 12. 12 times 2, 24. And times 2, 48. That is what we mean by the GP. So a quick summary is, a GP is defined by a common ratio of terms. The sum of n terms depends on the value of R. If R is more than 1, you use this formula. And if R is less than 1, then you use this formula. That is the takeaway. And then for you to get the sum to infinity, if they have asked that find the sum to infinity of a given series, then you use this formula that the sum to infinity is A out of 1 minus R. And strictly here, R, or the magnitude of R, is less than 1. But certainly, when the question has asked you to find the sum to infinity, then the question is already standard that the value of the magnitude of R will be less than 1. So that is not your task to figure it out. Now, the final takeaway is that if you are given a series, examine whether it is an AP series or a GP series. If it is an AP series, there is a common difference between any two consecutive terms. But if it is a GP series, then there is a common ratio between any two consecutive terms. Otherwise, that is the brief introduction to series and the two types of series, and in the subsequent videos we shall be looking at each of the types one by one. Otherwise, this is your tutor here, and thank you.